Our interview this morning is with Roland Brucks. Roland was born in August of 1925 in Martinez, Texas. He served in the United States Marine Corps from 1943 until 1946. His highest rank attained was Corporal. This interview is conducted at Burleson, Texas on Friday, August the 27th, 2010. My name is Dale Dexheimer. I'm not related to Mr. Brucks. Also in the room is Milton Gibson, who is our videographer. This interview is conducted for the Veterans History Project at the Library of Congress and for Operation Remember at the City of Burleson. And with that little introduction, Mr. Brucks, we'll let you tell us about your time in the service. Why'd you go in the Marine Corps, for starters?
Well, I was just a little country boy. Born on a farm, raised on a farm. Moved to New Braunfels in 1934. Finished high school. Went to an Army Signal Corps school for a year to learn more about electronics. Well, I did them wrong. When I got through with that, I didn't go to the Army. I went in the Marine Corps. Went boot camp in San Diego, which was quite an experience. First thing, I had to go out there on a train, which I've never been on a train before. Boot camp, like I say, was an experience. It was a lot tougher than what I understand it is now. There was, I don't know how to say it, they were pretty strict with us. They made us do things that ordinarily people wouldn't even think about doing. That's all right. It was for a reason, to toughen us up, to expect things in the future. After I got out of boot camp, I was selected to go to electronics school because of my background in San Diego. There I learned how to assemble and disassemble electronics. I also learned the Morse code to get me ready for operation in the actual battles. The Morse code, which I learned 60 years ago, I still remember every letter, every dit and dot after 60 years. I see a sign and I'll just mentally go through the Morse code. Like the little walk up there, da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da. So I had to do it that fast because I was a high-speed radio operator. It went to Hawaii first, to Pearl Harbor. Stayed there for a while. Then we left for Iwo Jima. I guess the most scary thing is when they announced that they had sighted a submarine. That kind of shook us up a little bit. But we got to Iwo Jima, and they had been pounded with bombs and everything you can think of to kind of ease the pain, I guess you might say. The first 3 days on Iwo Jima I spent on the command ship, where all the admirals and the generals were, and I served as an operator to take the messages from the actual battle and relay it to the generals and the admirals so they could make their decisions. After 3 days, they sent me ashore. I'll tell you, that was scary. I was just a country boy. I didn't know anything about this. I didn't have any idea what I was getting into. I think on the second night, I was in the foxhole with a friend of mine from Arkansas, and I could see the mortar shells getting closer and closer and closer and closer until I finally told him, I said, "Get ready, it's going to hit us." And no sooner had I said that, and it hit right next to our foxhole. It tore my rifle to shreds, and I didn't even know I was wounded. I just ran for cover. I got to the tent where they were treating And I did finally decide I was wounded. I reached down and had my hand full of blood. I got to the place where the corpsmen were, and they treated me, and they said evacuate him to a hospital ship. From the hospital ship, I went to Guam, to a hospital, stayed there for a while, and then went to Pearl Harbor. Stayed there for a while, and was finally ready to get back into action, but I didn't exactly. I wasn't a really proud Marine at that stage. I wanted to get away from the action, not into the action, after having been wounded like I was. So from Pearl Harbor, I went to San Francisco, the hospital, to New Orleans to a hospital, to Corpus Christi to a hospital, and finally released. And I was sent back to San Diego. There I waited to get released from the service. Stayed there for a while and did some duty as sergeant of the guard and switchboard operator and what have you. Finally, I was released and went back home to New Braunfels, Texas. And that's my story about the Marines. I haven't, like I say, I haven't got nearly the story to tell that the people at Guadalcanal and places like that. I had two brothers and a brother-in-law who were in service at the same time. So my mother had 4 kids in the service. I was the only one that was wounded, so the others came home okay. That's all I've got to say. I mean, I could talk, I guess, but I don't really know of anything important to say.
Well, let me ask you some questions then, sir.
Okay, you're the talker.
Grew up or when you were born, you were living on a farm in Martinez, Texas.
That's right.
How big a farm?
Oh, I would say 100 acres or more, I don't know. Martinez is about 10 miles southeast of San Antonio. That's where it's located.
And that's what your dad did all the time? He was a farmer?
Yes, my dad was in World War I.
Okay.
In the Army, he was a warrant officer during World War I. Why he chose farming, I'll never know, and I wish he hadn't, because that was worse than Iwo Jima.
You have cows?
No, on the farm itself.
Okay.
That was no fun. I mean, we had to work 12, 15 hours a day. When I was 4 years old, I picked cotton. When I was 4 years old, I milked cows. Finally, after about 9 or 10 years, Dad got a job with the agricultural department and got transferred to New Braunfels, Texas.
That was a red letter day when you got rid of that farm.
No more farming.
Okay. You spent a year in the Army Signal Corps.
It wasn't in the Army, it was the Army Signal Corps school that they used to train people to be electronics people.
Had you enlisted in the Army?
No.
This was just...
This was just a school that they advertised, and they paid us to go to the school, and so
They
I
paid
said,
you?
yeah, I said, that was my first job. So I took it.
That might be a little tough for you to remember, but do you remember how much you got paid?
No.
Okay.
I have no idea.
Remember what you got paid when you went in the Corps?
I think $16 a month.
16.
I think that's what it was.
And you had money left over at the end of the month?
We
Yeah.
couldn't do anything.
Okay.
Boot camp was, well, I get back to boot camp, that was the toughest thing. That was about as tough as Iwo Jima, I guess. The things they made us do. That's okay. I approve of that.
I got that boot camp down here. Rode a train for the first time. Was this a bunch of recruits all on like a troop train?
From San Antonio to San Diego.
How long did that take you?
Oh gosh, I don't remember. A couple of days, I guess.
Steam engine?
I'm sure it was, yeah.
They put you in, were you all in coaches? Didn't give you a sleeping car, did they?
No,
Okay.
just sat all the way. That's the best I can remember. I mean, it's 60 years ago. You're talking about, and my memory's getting bad as it is, without trying to remember that.
Okay. So you go to boot camp. You did some things there that ordinary people wouldn't do.
Well, they'd like, for instance, they'd come in at 2 o'clock in the morning and said, okay, guys, up and at 'em. Get your sea bags, put them on your back, let's go. And they marched us or trotted us through the sandy beaches. That was tough. And I remember one time they made us, they found some cigarettes on the parade ground and cigarette butts, and they made us get out there on our hands and knees and push those cigarettes with your nose. I had to clean the latrine, that's what we called them, with our toothbrushes. It's just a lot of little things that they did that was
And the object?
for a reason to toughen us up
Toughen you up.
and follow instructions.
Discipline.
Yeah.
When that sergeant or somebody yelled, go, as a
You
Marine,
better went.
You went.
And when you went to bed at night, he said, shut up, and you shut up. Not a peep came out of you. That was discipline, and I'm all for it. I still believe in it.
You went from the West Coast to Hawaii, stayed there only.
Not very long, just to assemble the troops to go to Iwo Jima.
Went on a troop ship, I guess, from,
Yeah.
from the States. It went from San Diego.
I think the best I can remember, I went on an aircraft carrier,
Oh, you did?
because that's where all the wheels were, the generals and the admirals were.
And you were
I
a
stayed-
radio operator.
I was a radio operator. Not en route to Iwo Jima, but after I got to Iwo Jima. I was a radio operator to relay information from the battlefield to the commanders.
And you had that Morse key.
I had the Morse code, yeah.
They have such a thing as a speed key.
I was a high-speed radio operator.
You were.
I don't know how fast. Pretty fast.
You bet.
I mean, it was like that fast.
Yeah. Well, I noticed you looked at a sign back here and you had that da-da-da-da stuff. Yeah.
I can do that all day long. And it's been 60 years
Some
since
things stick with you.
it
Bet.
stuck with me, believe me. I'm glad.
Went on an aircraft carrier. You had a lot of new experiences. You were, let's see, this would have been 1943?
Well, that's when I went in the service.
Right.
But
So you were on that aircraft carrier
that was
43
just
or 44?
just prior to Iwo Jima.
44,
I think it was 44 or
Late
yeah, I
44.
think so.
So you were 19 years old.
At the time,
First time you'd ever been to sea.
first time I've been away from home.
Rode a train,
Rode a train for the first time ever.
went across the Pacific.
Yeah.
In 60 years, long time, but do you have a first impression of Hawaii when you got there? I guess you went into Pearl Harbor.
Yeah, we went to Pearl Harbor, and the best thing I remember about Pearl Harbor in that time was it smelled like fish. That's all you could smell. There was nothing like it is now. I mean, there was seafood stores and places like that, and it just real fishy smell. Don't show the people in Hawaii this; they wouldn't like it.
Did, now I guess there were a number of Marines on board this aircraft carrier, or were you just kind of with the headquarters unit that
Yeah, I went with the headquarters unit, so
they let you go over on the beach when you,
not when they landed, thank goodness.
well, when you were in Hawaii? Did you get to go over there? Did you get to go ashore
Where?
in Hawaii, or did they keep you on the,
No, they went ashore.
they went ashore?
Yeah.
Have any memories of that?
No.
No? Okay. Okay, we leave Hawaii and we end up Iwo Jima.
We went past Saipan and Guam, Tinian, and from there went north to Iwo Jima.
Was that on a troop ship? Or were you still on that?
I stayed on the aircraft
Stayed
carrier
on that aircraft carrier.
because that's what was my assignment, and they didn't see any sense in moving me.
Okay.
You're asking me a lot of things now. I don't remember.
You remember anything about the accommodations on that aircraft carrier?
No.
The chow?
No.
No? Okay.
I think the one thing I remember about the night before the Marine Corps went into battle, they fed everybody a steak dinner.
And it was good.
It was good.
You
That
bet.
might have been our last meal.
Steak, taters?
I don't remember that. I just remember steak dinner.
Okay. When you went ashore, you were on board the carrier for 3 days, and then they put you on the beach.
Right.
They sent you over in a...
I was just north of Mount Suribachi, where I landed.
Okay.
And
And Suribachi was at the north end of the island?
No, south end.
Okay. Okay. They take you from the aircraft carrier. Did you ride in a Higgins boat, do you remember? Little old flat bottom boat?
right,
Ramp went down when you got over there?
right,
Hit the beach. You had an M1, I guess?
right.
And did you have a portable radio?
No, that was part of the actual battle itself. I mean, when I was assigned,
You were not a radio operator on the beach. You were a Marine. You were a ground pounder.
right. But as soon as I got ashore, I was assigned to a unit, being their radio operator.
Okay. Did they have the radio equipment with them?
That was there, yes.
Was this voice or was it still Morse?
It was mostly voice, all voice. It didn't have time ready for code.
And that voice transmitter, whatever, you remember maybe how big a unit that was, or
No.
maybe what it weighed?
No.
Could you carry it?
I'm sure I could. I don't.
Okay.
You're asking me things again.
Yeah. Well, I was just thinking that today you could go to Radio Shack here in town and you probably get something fit in your hand pretty easily that would do the same thing that radio did back when you were
That's
an
right.
operator.
That's right. Electronics has gone
Yeah.
wild. I've had a computer for 8 years, and I still don't know how to use it. I can do certain things, but
Carried an M1 Garand, which had been around for a long time.
you're asking me a question I don't know.
You dug the foxhole. I guess you and the guy in there with you dug the foxhole.
It was sandy.
Was it sandy?
Black sand.
Black sand?
Black sand.
You
In
just
fact,
took
I
your-
still have a little deal with black sand in it at home.
just took your entrenching tool and got in there and dug.
And with your hands.
And with your hands?
Yeah.
Waist deep?
I would imagine, yeah. You could lay down and not be seen.
And there were
But
two guys.
the thing is that the Japanese had caves from the north end to the south end. And when our people in battle thought they had something secured going north, the enemy would go into the caves and come in behind them. And that's where they got close to where I was and started throwing mortar shells at us. And that's what got me.
And you could see them walk that mortar.
I could see the mortar getting closer, yes. And I was scared. Now, I was, like I said, I didn't have much to say. I just, very short, actual time in battle, got wounded, and it took me off the out. So, you probably had a lot better stories from others.
We don't talk to too many folks that have Purple Hearts.
It wasn't that serious. It got me right in the knee. And you could see some shrapnel on the other side. Didn't go all the way through.
But you spent a fair amount of time in hospitals.
To where I could walk again.
Another question, you were single all the time you were in?
Oh, yes. Yeah.
Got married sometime after the
Oh,
war?
yes, quite some time.
Okay. You were in hospitals, I think you said Guam for starters?
Right. Then they flew me
Guam to Pearl,
Pearl Harbor.
back to the West Coast to New Orleans?
I don't know why. You're asking me a question I have no control over.
You remember anything about the hospital?
Maybe it was something that bothered me or something, you know, about the battle, being a kid that I was. They wanted to make sure that I was in good health mentally. I don't know. I just did what they told me
Were you
to.
in a ward in all of these hospitals?
Yeah.
A bay with 20 guys in it, I
Oh.
guess? Here. When you got out, you went back to New Braunfels.
Right.
And what did you do in New Braunfels when you got out?
Well, that was a long story too. I got various little jobs because I was going to go to college, and had a girlfriend that went to TCU, and she brought me up here, and then didn't get married, but I went to TCU and graduated there in 1950. So,
Froggy's going to have a pretty good year this year, huh?
who?
The Frogs?
Oh yeah,
TCU?
oh yeah. I'm a Frog fan. Frogs and Rangers. I never miss a game on TV on the Rangers. Never miss them.
You're having a pretty
Because
good year.
I live by myself. I have only the four walls to look at.
You're having a pretty good year this year.
Oh yeah.
You bet.
Mavericks did fair. So, golf. We had Tiger Wood. We won't go into that.
Well, he's having a pretty good week this week.
Yeah.
I
Right.
understand he was a leader yesterday.
Yeah, right. But
you-
I had to stop golfing about a year or two ago. I had rotator cuff problems, and that took a lot out of me because I was an avid golfer. You know.
After you graduated from TCU, did you stay in electronics? Did you do something with electronics?
I majored in marketing, and I had several different jobs. The last of being, I worked in the World Trade Center in Dallas, in sales. Stayed there probably 8 or 10 years.
It's a different world in the Marine Corps today. I think you said your boot camp was probably a little tougher than what it is today. Remember how long boot camp was, Roland?
No, I think 8, 10 weeks. I don't remember exactly.
Yeah, okay. Up at 5 in the morning and at them all day
Around
long?
9 o'clock, you were in the sack in bed.
Because maybe they were going to bounce you out of the sack at 2 o'clock.
That's right.
Okay, sir.
Not every night, but
Yeah.
occasionally, whenever they felt like it.
Do you think young folks should spend that time in a boot camp?
I think everybody,
days?
I think all men especially, should be in boot camp to learn discipline, which is, in my opinion, is lacking nowadays.
Yes, sir.
There is no discipline, no, very little discipline.
Well, I ask for your
That's-
opinion.
That's my observation.
So you would be in favor of universal military?
For at least a year,
Okay, sir.
they'd learn discipline. Learn how to say yes, sir, no, sir. We had, if we were asked a question and there was 3 answers you could give them. Yes, sir. No, no, sir. No excuse, sir. And that was it. That's all you had to say. That was discipline.
And we don't know how it is today, really. We don't know how many
No,
answers.
just from what
there
I
are
hear, just from
today.
what I hear.
Yes, sir. Yeah. Would you change anything if you had to do it over?
Oh, if I changed anything, I wouldn't be here right now. No, I wouldn't. No.
You'd take the same path, you'd,
Oh, yeah. Well, I wouldn't mind some minor changes, but nothing major.
been a pretty good 85 years.
Oh, yeah.
Good.
I'm
You bet.
blessed to be alive today.
Yes, sir.
That's a long time.
Yep. And you look like you're in pretty good health, sir.
Oh, I've
Maybe
got
not a
all,
rotator cuff problem, but
both knees are, I've got neuropathy in my feet, which means numbness in my feet. You know, I've had lung cancer, I've had bladder cancer, I've been there. But I made it.
Marine Corps help you get through all those things, that discipline you had so many years ago?
Oh, I'm sure to a certain degree.
Okay, sir. We got more than 5 minutes.
Well, I didn't say anything.
Mr. Brucks, we appreciate you coming here this morning. We appreciate your time in the service, sir. You worked, you're obviously a humble individual, but that Purple Heart is a big deal. We appreciate that, sir. Thank you.